Hello, welcome back to my witch obsession. I'm trying to clear my voice. I haven't used it all morning, but if you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for the Venus in Libra transit. I have been eyeing this transit down for a while, or at least I have very good feelings about it. So I wanted to tell all of you how it would be, or kind of give you guys an overview of it for all 12 rising signs. But yeah, as always, timestamps will be in the description box below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. But anyways, we're just gonna get right into it. So hello, Sagittarius rising. I hope I forget to put us first. I'm only saying that so that in case there's the 1% chance that I do forget, it's fine. But I will make sure to put us first. Anyway, Sagittarius, if you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for October 13th from that to November 6th, Venus in Libra. So Venus is moving through your 11th house, Sag, and I feel like this will be a really, really nice transit for you because it kind of seems to me a lot of Sagittarius risings have been wanting to expand on their social circles, be around new people, and break into new communities. So I think that this transit is a very good time for you to do that. Especially because on the 20th of October / the 21st, we're going to see a new moon in Libra as well. So new friends, new relationships, new connections. And let's be real, Venus is also romance. So I wouldn't be surprised if romance blossoms within a social circle. This don't have to be you. This could also be, friends, dating around in your circle and whatnot. But I would imagine that a lot of you are setting new intentions to be in new connections around the 21st. And it all boils down to having ideas that people agree with. So the 11th house, it makes me think of shared concepts. So it's I really like scrapbooking. So I go out into the world and I look for people who also really appreciate scrapbooking. And then we build a group or some kind of foundation with each other where we all really like scrapbooking and it's built on that. And we find new, you know what I'm saying? It's innovation and inventing an idea and making it a little bit more unique. So it's oh my gosh, instead of using all this stuff for scrapbooking, why don't we use this material instead? Why don't we use this medium? Why don't we do that and incorporate this in and make it different, make it unique, invent and make it better? So a lot of you could be doing something like that in this transit where not only are you seeking out people who really stand with you, agree with you, but this could also be something about setting down some sort of foundation where you're able to invent and make something better. Especially because Venus rules your 6th house, so this could be rooted in health and wellness. I think that a lot of Sagittarius risings have become a lot more conscious of their well-being, their health, their diet, especially under this Venus and Virgo transit. It's been something that's been very public. It's been something that's very obvious, and a lot of you have probably, quit, been let go, or have gone through some kind of massive change when it comes to a work setting, when it comes to how your schedules work out, and when it comes to, the people that you're around in your work. So I think that the Venus and Libra transit, it will be an opportunity, based on the changes that were made in your career and your work in the Venus and Virgo transit, it's translating to Venus and Libra where all those gaps that were probably left behind is bringing in new people, new connections, and new ideas in order for you to build off of them. And maybe offer a new service, maybe build something new when it comes to your health and your well-being. This is also a very good time to make friends with consultations. This makes me think of making a friend that's very valuable, very important. And what I mean by that is maybe you are really looking for a barber and then you make a friend who is a barber and then now you can get free haircuts. Maybe this is oh, I really want to get my nails done and I want to find, someone who can help me with something like that. You befriend a nail tech, maybe you want to go to the gym and then you meet someone who works at a gym, so now you found a gym that you can go to, have a workout buddy and a discount. So something like that could be coming up. A lot of friends who bring benefits to you, whether literally or in that way. So that's y'all's business. Especially because Venus will move into Scorpio in November, so I'd keep an eye out for that. So again, that's y'all's business. I want to say that because Venus will also trine Uranus in your 7th house and Pluto in your 3rd, a lot of conversations. I think that this could be like a lot of random breakthroughs with random people, like people sporadically coming in and out of your life and dropping bars on you, and you be like, that's actually a very good source of wisdom. I would have never expected that from this person. So that's what I would imagine. I also think that a lot of you could be going through massive shifts when it comes to social media. So maybe some of you are deleting social media. Maybe some of you are deciding to pursue content creation. Maybe some of you are being like, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I'm backing away. I'm done. So this could also be related to your relatives, maybe a friend of a friend, a good family friend. But overall, I feel like because a lot of Sag rising seem to have gone through some kind of disgusting falling outage in the past few years with a friend, especially like a female friend. So if you do feel like you have had to back away from a certain friendship or a certain relationship in your life, or has been taken away from you, this Venus and Libra transit definitely feels very karmic and an opportunity for you to have the right conversations and make the breakthroughs that you need to either lay those relationships to rest and move forward, or to meet new people who can support you in the ways that you have probably been craving for a very long time. Because something tells me that you're really craving a best friend right now, Sag, or you're really looking for people who can share the same ideas as you, be around people who like the same things as you. And I think that this transit will very much bring you something like that. But it requires you to make breakthroughs and come up with creative solutions to place yourself in new environments where you can find these people instead of doing the same thing over and over again, hoping that these people will come and find you. So it truly starts with you, and it could be related to work and service. But anyways, that's all I have for you, Sagittarius. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra transit. Especially you guys, it must be very difficult not being the best of the best. So I feel super bad for all 11 other signs. Bye. I love you. Aries rising. I think Aries rising, you'll probably have it the best out of some of the other signs because Venus will be moving into your 7th house, and Venus rules your 2nd house. So this is a really nice transit because Venus likes the 7th house and she's in her home turf and she's aspecting your ascendant. Granted, she is opposing your ascendant, so it might be that you are having to see things from other people's perspectives, or other people are being particularly, adamant about how they feel. But I don't think it'll ever be so in a bad or negative way. If anything, I think it'll be in this way where other people are very easily seeing your perspective and how you feel and what your situation is. Whereas you might be having a little bit kind of, not trouble, but you're having to kind of compensate and make sure that you see things other people's ways as well, especially because Venus rules your 2nd house. So I feel like this could be related to money, and your chart ruler Mars is actually in the 8th house for a good portion of Venus and Libra too. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of this boils down to money and having to move back and forth. And it might be that sometimes you're literally just a vessel where someone gives you cash and then another person gives you cash for that cash. So it's like, someone gives you $500 and then someone needs the $500 in hundreds and they have theirs all in 20. So you kind of, you know what I'm saying? Where you might feel like a vessel for finances. So this could also be stuff revolving around your bank and legal matters. I have you say, if you're wanting to sort out any legal matters or anything relating to money, like my money versus their money, this is probably one of those transits where you'll see a lot of payout from that. So I could see this as like, maybe there has been a suing process going underway. Maybe some of you are filing out taxes or insurance and filling that stuff out, getting that stuff ready. Maybe some of you are even having intimate conversations with partners and getting real deep with it with someone that you love and care about. That's how I see it, since your chart ruler is in the 8th house and then your 7th house ruler is in the 7th house. So it's just kind of like you're going through a lot of transformations and you're going through a lot of depth with the people that you love and kind of sorting things out. Like Libra is just about balancing things out, literally, as we all know. So I feel like you're doing that very much in the way how other people might be involved in it. Some of you might get into a relationship under this transit, or maybe some of you will lock in with someone throughout this transit. I don't really see it as like, oh, like you're like getting married or something like that. For some of you, that could be the case if the process has already been undergoing or if you're anticipating it, because I have been noticing that a lot of Aries risings have been getting changes of title, you know, with Saturn yo-yoing between your first and your 12th house, Saturn ruling your 10th house. So I would imagine that for a lot of you, you are anticipating title changes, moving things around, especially as it relates to your family and maybe even your parents. And this could all be tied into this Venus and Libra transit where people are being very nice, very supportive. A lot of you could be wanting to give gifts or receiving very nice gifts throughout this transit as well. So I think that this is just a very nice time to, you know, do very pretty things with the people that you love. Going out to brunch, going shopping together, being on the phone, talking together. This is a really good transit for a community, especially because Venus will trine Pluto and Uranus at first. Now, Pluto isn't the best planet, let's be real here, but it is in your 11th house, and Venus wants to harmonize, and Venus is very strong in Libra, you know? And so I feel like this trine between Pluto and Uranus is creative solutions, you know, making suggestions and unique breakthroughs in your community, people listening to you, rallying up people who care about what you have to say and can agree with your takes on whatever that might be. But it seems to be related to ideas, conversations, education. And a lot of you could also just be driving around a lot with that trine to Uranus. So a lot of you could be dealing with like car stuff. Maybe some of you are having some stuff going on with like signatures, leases, and stuff like that. At first, I would say like the first few days, October 13th, when Venus first goes into Libra, through until like the tail end of October, that first week is not a great time to sign stuff. I think that the middle of the Venus transit, especially when we have that new moon around the 21st, beautiful time to sign things, beautiful time to do leases, beautiful time to do anything like that. But for a lot of you, I think that this is just a lot of new, pretty intentions around being around the people that you love and care about. So that's all I have for you, Aries rising. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in my next video. I love you. Okay, Taurus rising. Hi, Taurus rising. So if you're seeing this, this will be this Venus transit from October 13th through November 6th. Honestly, Taurus, this Venus transit for you, you might be seeing it get hyped up a lot, but I feel like for you, it will be very unassuming and maybe even a little bit underwhelming, but it will definitely be very productive for you because Venus will move through your 6th house. And Venus don't really like being in the 6th house. It's very uncomfortable for her, but she does like being in Libra, so it kind of makes me think of wearing your favorite outfit but to an event that you don't really care about, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you feel on and you feel like you got it going on, but the location that you're in, you're kind of like, yo, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here, you know? It's kind of like being overdressed for something that's really not all that important to you. So what I mean by that is I feel like a lot of you really might enjoy this transit in the sense that, you know, 6th house plus Libra makes me think of getting facials. It makes me think of appointments like tattoos, piercings. So a lot of you could be doing stuff like that. If you are wanting to do stuff like that, absolutely avoid the beginning of November. So like November 1st is the cutoff day for doing stuff like that because Venus is going to come into an opposition with Chiron, and that's not very good for your body and, you know, like taking care of stuff like that. You know, I would not do that. Anyways, Venus moving through Libra and the 6th house, it makes me think of a lot of work stuff, especially if like you're dealing with like legal matters, since Libra can deal with stuff like that. So like legal stuff with like the work situation, maybe you're signing things, joining new jobs, applying for things. And there could be a lot of conversation flowing around, especially in the beginning, because when Venus first initially enters Libra, she's going to trine Pluto and Uranus. A lot of ideas will be flowing around. A lot of creative solutions as well. I kind of see this as, you know, if there has been ongoing problems with your values, with money, with work stuff, with your routine and sorting that stuff out, you know, with your career, if there's been drama and whatnot. I think that this Venus transit at first will open up opportunities to cleverly and tactfully sort out any of these conflicts, kind of situate it, if you know what I mean. Diplomatic, that diplomatic energy, it makes me think of like a lot of you could be waiting, or a lot of you could be kind of like, you know, making sure that the situation pans out before you decide to act. And a lot of you might be on that this month, where there's a urge to procrastinate, or there's an urge to kind of take your time and then kind of do everything last minute. So this is definitely an awkward transit because you want to pace yourself and you really don't want your workload to be overwhelming, or you don't want to stress yourself out. I noticed that about Libra, and the 6th house can be associated with Virgo. So it just makes me think of someone who, like, if you wait till the last minute, it'll only take a minute, which is very true. But if you want to make sure that this transit is very pretty for you, do things right when they come to you. When you have that first burst of energy to do something, do it right then and there. Do not wait. But for longer, bigger standing issues, this is one of those things where it's like, it'll be taken care of bit by bit. And Venus is your chart ruler as well, so just like a lot of workplace stuff. I do want to mention that whenever Venus first enters Libra as well, she will oppose Neptune. So this could also be a lot of stuff revolving around your wellness, around your mental health. I would imagine that this is a good time to get some rest or to fix up your sleep schedule. Neptune and Aries makes me think of like maybe stuff of like working out. Maybe there's repressed anger coming up, so that could be relevant as well. And it could be related to your social circles, since Neptune rules your 11th house. So maybe there's like social circles and groups of people at work that you're having to sort out between them. So that could be relevant. I think it's funny because your chart ruler is in the 6th house, and then your 7th house ruler is in the 7th house. And so it just makes me imagine that a lot of you could be dealing with stuff with like partners around this time. And it could be related to services and work, especially if you do like a client-based business, especially if it's related to law. But that doesn't have to be the case. A lot of you could just be, you know, like having to deal with stuff with like clients and working and other people. So just kind of keep an eye out. And I would also want to say, keep an eye out for your money, because Mercury is going to retrograde in the coming month in your 8th house, then back into your 7th house. So this Venus and Libra transit is a really good time to lay down a steady foundation and a routine and getting the uncomfortable stuff out of the way. Like, I think that Venus and Libra in the 6th house is a great time to do the stuff that you really don't want to do, you know? It makes me think of like, you know, like car registration, renewals, signing stuff, you know, like getting this done at work, making sure this paperwork is filled out, all of that good stuff. The boring stuff, it'll be irritating, but I also feel like this is a really good chance to do it because people are more obvious, people are more willing to help you, or at least it seems like you understand who to reach out to and who to consult in order to get assistance and make sure that your things are getting done timely and correctly. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Taurus. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it resonated. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra. I love you. Okay, now moving on to Gemini rising. So, hi Gemini rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for Venus and Libra this will be taking place October 13th through November 6th. So, I have you say, Gemini, I was really excited to do yours because I think that Venus and Libra will be a really fun transit for you. And I say this because Venus is moving through your 5th house. Venus in her home turf sign, and she loves being in the 5th house. She rejoices in the 5th house. And she's also trining your ascendant. Just all around really good energy. However, I will say that trines can feel a little bit lazy, or it might feel like you at times are not taking advantage of this transit, or you might not feel like you feel inclined or motivated to do anything particularly special. So I will say that this Venus and Libra transit will be very, very nice, even if you don't do anything. But if you want to maximize it and get the most out of it, take action through relationships, creative hobbies, being around people who embody what you like. This is a great time to sit down with people that you love and care about, doing like arts and crafts, because Libra makes me think of relationships, and then the 5th house makes me think of like romance, creativity, self-expression, dates. So just all around a good time to schedule stuff like that and do things like that. A lot of that. Libra moves fast, so if you're gonna do it, just do it. You know, there's really no like, oh, you know, like, should we do this? Should we do that? You know, we can do this, you know, like, I could schedule this place, but this place is also really good, you know, and it might be that reveling in all the opportunities and decisions and choices might prevent you from actually doing something. So with this transit, I just want to say, if you want to do something, just go ahead and do it, okay? There's really no time to waste. And I want to say that because Mars is also in your 6th house, and this is pretty important in my eyes because Venus will first come into an opposition with Neptune, and Neptune's in Aries, Mars ruled sign, Mars is in your 6th house. There might be a lot of confusion of like social circles and like services, work, and how this relates to your day-to-day routine. I think that this transit will be one of those things where it's like you're very busy, so you might find it hard to fit in time for playtime. I promise it will be worth inconveniencing yourself to do things that like may feel like out of the way. Your friends are like, oh, do you want to go to this Halloween event? Oh, do you want to do this with me? Oh, do you want to go to this painting thing at this boba cap? It might be a little bit inconvenient where you're like, oh, I have to move around my schedule for that, so that's a little bit irritating. But I promise it will be, maybe you won't feel it in the moment, but as you get into the groove, it will be great enrichment. People will be very nice to you. I think that this is a great transit, especially if you're wanting to go out on dates or meet people. But overall, I just kind of feel like this Venus and Libra transit will just be very humbling and very nice for you. And I think that because Venus will also trine Pluto and Uranus at first around the 13th, it's between your second and your first and your 9th house. So there could also be things revolving around travel and your beliefs and your ideals, perhaps philosophy. And there could also be a lot of fun with how you enjoy yourself in like a school setting. But I think that Venus trining Pluto particularly is a really great time to make changes and transformations to how it deals with educational pursuits and learning things. So this is a really nice time to be like, oh, like I really want to do cake decorating, or I really want to do like floral arrangements. Those are things that I think are cool. So I'm going to take a class for it. So it could be very transformative in that sense. And I also want to say that Venus moving through the 5th house can deal with children. So especially because Venus rules your 12th house, there could be a lot of stuff about your inner child coming out. And maybe this is coming through subconscious messages. So like sleeping, hypnotherapy. This could also be related to literal children. So maybe someone around you is having kids. Maybe with the trine to Pluto in the 9th, this could be relating to in-laws, or even the trine to Uranus in your sign, Gemini. It could be like relatives around you are having children, or maybe there's events going on like baby showers and whatnot. So there could be a lot of stuff going on like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the oppositions to planets or like Neptune and Chiron in your 11th house, it's like a lot of healing to your beliefs and where you stand versus where other people stand. But I kind of feel like this could be like, oh, I'm having to go to these events and parties and stuff that are kind of getting in my way. I don't really know how to deal with it. So a lot of that stuff could be coming up for you. But anyways, that's all I have for you, Gemini. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra. I love you. Okay, so now we're on to Cancer rising. So hello, Cancer. Okay, I really like this transit for you, Venus and Libra, October 13th from November 6th. And the reason I like it is because Venus is moving through your 4th house, which is a house that you're very familiar with. And I feel like this is a really nice transit too, because I think that with Venus having moved through Virgo and the stuff with your South Node, and Venus ruling your 4th house and your 11th house, there's probably been a lot of conflict of interest, especially when it comes to ideas and communication leading up until this point. So the best way to say it just makes me think of like living with people who you don't agree with, living around people who don't share the same values as you, being around people and environments and relationships where people seem to be overly critical of you, criticizing of themselves, and there could be some sort of like distortion when it comes to services and work. And I think that Venus moving through 4th house will really allow you to be around the relationships and connections that really feed you and make you feel a lot more supported. So this is just a really nice energy in my eyes. This could also be a very good transit to redecorate your home. Venus moving through the 4th house, it makes me think of like buying pretty things for your room. And it could be that a lot of you are refurbishing. And with the transits to, the trines to Uranus and Pluto, I kind of feel like this could be related to something about like your sleep, and maybe like you're getting like intuitive hits on how you should be rearranging your room. It's one of those things where it's like I feel like you as a Cancer rising will know what I'm talking about, but if you try to describe it to another person, you might sound crazy, or we might sound crazy. It's like I just feel like the bookshelf should be in the corner of the room, not this side of the room. You know, so a lot of you may be taking a lot of intuitive hits and having a lot of strange dreams as well. And it could be related to repressed childhood dreams. I noticed that Venus in Libra, or excuse me, Cancer rising, you know, a lot of you tend to deal with like things going on in the household growing up or throughout your life where issues are kind of glossed over and things are not really properly taken care of, and maybe sometimes things are invalidated and kind of swept aside even though they're issues that need to be addressed. So I think that this will be a nice transit to do something like that. Not gloss over issues, but, you know, address things and be validated and taken care of, especially because Venus rules your 11th house. So I think that a lot of you could be finding a tribe throughout this transit, or people who are particularly supportive of you and agree with your values and your ideals. And Venus will also trine Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, and that's a pretty intense energy. So I would take care, because Pluto in the 8th house, this could be related to things revolving around like money. So especially when it comes to like the 4th house thing. So maybe a lot of you are dealing with something about like a realtor, you know, home insurance, home property, mortgages and whatnot. I'm not no homeowner, so I don't know how any of that stuff works. But this could even be related to something about, you know, like leases. So maybe some of you are trying to renew a lease, or maybe there's something going on here with contracts and whatnot. Especially because literally Venus has come into an opposition with Saturn right before this Venus in Libra. So when I'm uploading this, a lot of you have probably already dealt with something about like, you know, like legal matters and signatures and having to go back and forth with like something about like school and moving around and like long distance matters. So having to travel and sort out the financial logistics of it. So especially if you are willing to travel or wanting to travel, or, you know, like you already bought that plane ticket, this could be a lot of stuff revolving around like, okay, like we're renting on Airbnb. Is that how you call it? Airbnb? You know what I'm talking about, or like a hotel or a villa or something. So if you're wanting to rent out something like that, I would imagine that the Venus and Pluto trine at first will entail something about that, where you're having to sort it out and organize it. But I also want to mention that Venus will come into an opposition with Chiron in the beginning of November. If you're wanting to sort out anything with authority figures, with anything revolving around bosses, your work, your career, the middle of the Venus transit, especially around that new moon in Libra, will be a really good time to do that. I think you'll really like the, sorry, I don't mean to like point, but you know, like Venus in Libra and then a new moon in Libra around the 21st, really, really nice time. October 21st, by the way. Beautiful time, you know, like signing, I would imagine a lot of you are signing leases, contracts, and a lot of you could be receiving some kind of like a benefit. New friends, new social circles, new people to be around. And then, you know, especially your 10th house ruler Mars in your 5th house. So I think that a lot of you could be dealing with something about like children. So maybe some of you are stepping away from work, or maybe a lot of you are seeing changes in your career because of people having kids, whether it be you having kids or something like that. But overall, I kind of just see this Venus and Libra transit for you, Cancer, as an opportunity for you to enrich your inner world through being around the right people and being around a supportive, graceful, and beautiful environment. Really good time to consume art and things from other people who really inspire you. That's what I have for you, Cancer. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra transit. I love you. Bye. All right, so now we're moving on to Leo rising. So, hi Leo rising. This will be your horoscope for Venus and Libra, October 13th from November 6th. So, I think that this transit for you is a little bit like drama, because Venus is moving through your 3rd house. And the reason I say drama is because I feel like a lot of Leo risings have been dealing with work stuff, or like conversations and like drama, like gossip, rumors, people being around you. And especially with that trine to Pluto in your 7th house, I really, really want you to look out for obsessive tendencies in other people. So Venus in the 3rd house, Pluto in Aquarius, social media, events, you know, like neighborhoods and all of this good stuff, you know, like your immediate locations, people who you have to see on a day-to-day basis, especially because right before that Venus has moved into Libra when you're seeing this, Venus will also have come into an opposition with Saturn while still in your second house. So something about like values and something about like money situations could have come up as well. But I think that with Venus moving into Libra, first of all, a really great opportunity for you to put yourself out there on like social media and the internet. Venus rules your 10th house, so this is like your status and your reputation. I feel like this is just one of those things where it's like you have to move through it intuitively, and whatever works for you will be, have to be done. And the reason I say that is because, like I just said, there could be like an obsessive tendency from the people around you. And so this is more of like based on how comfortable you feel and what you like, you know. And I know that if you want to do something, you're going to do it and you don't care who's going to try to stop you or get in your way. But I will say that your hunches are probably right initially this first week, and with Venus and Libra, like October 13th through like October 20th. You're going to be right when it comes to your hunches about the people around you who either you feel like are preying on your downfall, looking after you, watching you, all that good stuff. Pluto can also indicate a lot of change. So I think that being in the 7th house and then Venus trining from the 3rd house, a lot of changing conversations, topics, learning new things from other people. And maybe this could even be for a select few of you, be related to like contracts and legal matters, especially as it relates to like cars or other things. But Venus will also trine Gemini or Uranus in Gemini, which is in your 11th house. So this could also just be related to your social circles and social media. Once again, I think that the trine to Gemini is just like eccentric people coming towards you, people whom you usually wouldn't talk to. Or I also feel like a lot of you could just be trying to change up your search engine or changing up your perspective in order to look for the people who resonate with you, or people who, you know, like just looking for people who vibe with you. That's really the best way to put it. I feel like a lot of Leo risings right now are looking for tribe or trying to focus on the people that really matter to you. However, I just kind of feel like a lot of you could be dealing with like authority issues. Girl, I don't know what it is about you Leo risings, but I feel like a lot of you have been dealing with like, you know, especially with your chart ruler, the sun in its detriment in Libra, or at least a sign that doesn't like to be in. A lot of you have probably been dealing with like power struggles. So keep an eye out for that, especially when it comes to like your home situation. I think that with Mars and Scorpio, a lot of you are working through a lot of deeper emotions, and they could be manifesting through your relationships. But anyhow, I feel like this Venus and Libra transit will be very nice for you. Aside from everything that I just mentioned, this could also be decorating your car, buying a new car, or sorting that stuff out. The new moon in Libra around the 21st is a really good time to do something like that, you know, like buying a new car and whatnot. Amazing time. No harsh aspects. Just like a total green light. So I think that the new moon in Libra around the 21st, a lot of you could be having important conversations, speeches, putting yourself out there. Just overall a really, really good transit. And I feel like for you, especially because it's sextiling your ascendant, a lot of you could be like flirting. I almost wonder if this is maybe like getting on dating apps, or maybe this is like putting yourself out there in like local events in your community, or trying to be more involved with the people who are immediately around you, whether it be siblings, whether it be neighbors. And because Venus could also indicate a woman, I wouldn't be surprised if like if you have like a sister or an aunt, someone like that could be very significant in your life throughout this transit, where maybe you're having important conversations with them or gaining insight from them. Anyways, that's what I have for you, Leo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it resonated. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra. Bye. I love you. All right, now we're moving on to Virgo rising. So hello, Virgo rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your horoscope for this Venus and Libra transit, October 13th from November 6th. I have you say Virgo, I think you're going to really like this Venus and Libra transit. Venus will be moving through a home sign, Libra, and her house that she likes, which is the 2nd house. And this is, you know, like, let's be real. 2nd house is money. That's moolah. And I feel like a lot of you could either be receiving a lot of gifts or giving out gifts, receiving money, or just sorting out things with your values. So it doesn't even have to be that you get like an increase of money. This could also be that you are changing the way that you manage your money and the way that you interact with it. like, for example, I remember when stuff happened in my second house, I started carrying cash instead of using card. So it could just be that the way that money flows into your life is changing. For a lot of you, though, I would imagine that this is money coming in. And Venus rules your ninth house, so it could be that a lot of you are investing money into your relationships, but also ninth house themes. So, like traveling, learning new things, buying books, taking classes, getting a mentor. A lot of you could be doing stuff like that, especially if it's related to like legal matters, since Venus and Libra makes me think of the law. And it could be that a lot of you are abiding or respecting the rules in some way, shape, or form. I think that Venus in Libra is also very nice for boundary setting or, focusing your values in on what is, like lines to draw in whatever scenario might be, perhaps your relationships, it could be anything else. Especially because leading up to this transit, Venus has come into an opposition with Saturn between your first and your seventh house. So it definitely does feel like there have been restrictive tendencies or something about like hard work being put into your relationships when it comes to services and boundaries and emotional lines, like my feelings versus your feelings and whatnot. And I also want to say that Venus in Libra will immediately come into a trine with Pluto in Aquarius as well as Uranus in Gemini. So there could be a lot of changes going on in your workplace, and maybe it's related to like the rules, the regulations, and maybe this could be something about like your status as well, since Gemini. And a lot of you could be feeling like, I want to break free from this, like I don't value this job. So maybe some of you are finding a job that is paying better. Maybe there is changes of like finances in a work setting. Pluto rules your third house, so this could be related to like the technology. So maybe something about, the system is being changed, passwords and whatnot. And keep in mind that your 10th and chart ruler 10th house ruler / your chart ruler, Mercury, will go into shadow around the 20th and retrograde in November. So it definitely seems like a lot of you are having an all hands on deck kind of moment when it comes to your career and your work, and kind of moving back and forth and be like, okay, like this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to schedule it. Especially because Venus does rule your ninth house. So maybe this is in anticipation for a travel affair, or maybe something about, like your in-laws coming to visit you, and then you're having to kind of like move your schedule around to accommodate them or whatnot. And it all kind of comes back down to your philosophies, your religion, your faith, and how these kind of ties in with your values, your relationships, and your financial situation. I also want to say, Virgo, I noticed that a lot of Virgo risings, like a lot of you get self-worth, or a lot of you garner a sense of stability through your relationships, through your social grace, through your tact and your diplomacy, as well as your ability to solve issues, and maybe even something revolving around beauty and aesthetics. So I think that this Venus and Libra transit will definitely help you find yourself in that regard, finding where you stand with certain people, finding where you stand in certain relationships, and how you stand in certain social settings. And maybe this is about finding your tribe, finding people who really resonate with you. Especially since in the beginning of November, Venus will come into a square with Jupiter. So, Jupiter in your 11th house. So, like, a big expansion and a sudden realization when it comes to your values and your perspectives in your relationships, your social circles, but especially with the ones that you've had for a very, very long time, because, Cancer is like long-standing and very nostalgic. So a lot of you could be dealing with something like that. But overall, Venus in Libra is a very nice time, especially when the new moon in Libra on the 20th, around that time. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you are buying a new car, or if a lot of you are signing new things because of that Mercury-Mars conjunction in your third. But I would predict that for a lot of you, this is a very good time to buy nice things that you have been wanting to buy, as Venus and Libra will very much support this. So if you're going to be aggressive with your spending habits, this is the transit to do it. But when Scorpio season ensues, we need to stop, okay? So like when, Venus moves into Scorpio on November 6th, that is the cutoff date. And even like November 1st. So it's like that last week of October is a pretty good time to be buying the things that you're looking to buy. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Virgo. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it resonated. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra transit. Bye. I love you. Okay, so now we're moving on to Libra rising. So hello, Libra rising. If you're seeing this, this will be a horoscope for Venus and Libra from October 13th through November 6th. Honestly, Libra, I feel like this transit for you will be kind of aggressive, or it will kind of feel very in your face, in the sense that it'll feel like you have a hold of the wheel, because Venus is moving through your first house. And, you know, Venus in the first house is very pronounced, so this could literally be a lot of beauty related things, like makeup, hair, and all that stuff. Great time to do stuff like that, by the way, especially around like the new moon in Libra around the 21st of October. You know, if you're wanting to try something new with your hair, with your nails, with your fashion, with your earrings, any of that good stuff, very, very beautiful transit for you to do that. I noticed that when Venus moves through your first house, you're just feeling very like, you know, like very flowy and whatnot. So I would imagine that this is a really good time to, you know, just like feel yourself and intuitively learn more about yourself, because Venus does rule your 8th house. So there is kind of like a deeper sort of edge to this transit for you. It's very like change. It makes me think of like transformation, you know, like becoming a new person. And it might feel very small, but it'll be very big. So like, for example, maybe there's a necklace that you've worn every single day of your life, and then you finally change it and get a new pendant or something. You know, to other people, that's just like, oh, you got a new pendant, you know, love that for you. But for you, this is like a full rebranding, and you're completely changing something that is quintessential to your existence and your brand, you know? So I know that sounds a little dramatic, and maybe it doesn't have to be just what I mentioned, but I think that a lot of you could be going through something like that. Venus ruling your 8th house also makes me think that a lot of you could be sorting stuff out with like your reproductive organs. So something about your health and whatnot. Libra rules the lower back, so a lot of you could be sorting out something about that area of your body if you've been experiencing pain. I also noticed that Libra can be associated, like Venus makes me think of like your skin and like the health of your skin. Saturn could also be associated with that as well, and Saturn's in your 6th house in Pisces, and then, you know, Venus just came into an opposition with Saturn right before the 13th, so literally the day I'm filming this. So this could be a lot of stuff when it comes to your health and your well-being, when it comes to your diet, the fluids that you're ingesting, and body chemicals. Especially since Venus does rule the 8th house, and the 8th house makes me think of like body chemistry. So if a lot of you, you know, if you're a woman, maybe you've been dealing with something about like, you know, like birth control and whatnot. But if you're a guy, this could also just be something about like your testosterone and your hormones, and how this relates to the foods that you eat and how you interact with your body. But take care of your lower back. Not saying that this is like a bad transit, you know. I'm just saying that I feel like Venus manifests very differently for you, Libra, and when you harness this energy, it makes you someone that is impatient and someone who likes to get things done in a timely manner. It is the person who's like, I want it done right now, we're gonna do it now, and you do so in a tactful and graceful way. And I feel like a lot of you will feel very on, especially because Venus will trine Pluto in the 5th house, and it will also trine Uranus in your 9th house. So like new beliefs, new perspectives, and maybe a desire to randomly learn things. The trine of Uranus makes me think of like, you know what, I want to become a nail tech, let me go, you know. Or it might be like, oh, you know what, I'm always doing my hair, why don't I take a cosmetology class or something like that, you know. Of course, I'm relating it back to Venusian themes, but it could be very, very random. Maybe you're like, I really like robots, let me take a class for how robots and AI works, you know. Oh, I really want to, you know, and like Pluto in the 5th house, I feel like Pluto in the 5th house has been turning off a lot of Libra risings from like serious commitment and relationships if you're not already in one. If you are, this could be something revolving around children and romance and going on dates and bringing more spark and fun into the relationship based on your values and what you feel is important, since Pluto rules your 2nd house. Excuse me. But I also want to mention that at the end of this transit, so beginning of November 1st is the cutoff date to do anything to your body, because Venus will come into an opposition with Chiron. You really don't want to do anything to your body under this transit. And let me find out that some of y'all did, because opposition to Chiron just makes me seem like people not being considerate, people not being, you know, like you go to like your tattoo artist and you're like, hey, by the way, you know, like I really don't want you to like do this. I don't know how tattoos work, but you know, like don't do this because my body is like this, you know, like it'll, you know, whatnot. Or hey doctor, please don't do this, you know, like it's my body, you know, like people not listening to you how your body works. So new moon in Libra to like the 25th, so like the 20th to 25th is a very good time to be around relationships and having the important conversations, especially if it requires you to invest a large sum of money. So I think that 21st could be a very expensive day for a lot of Libra risings, but overall, I feel like a lot of you will be finding solutions, and a lot of you will be in this graceful position where you're able to swoon and charm any of those that you come into contact with. I'm about to hide in the house because I need to stay away from y'all when y'all in this transit because y'all are about to be playing too much. Anyways, that's what I have for you, Libra. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra transit. I hope it resonated. I love you. Bye. All right, now moving on to Scorpio rising. So hello, Scorpio rising. If you're seeing this, this will be your Venus in Libra transit, October 13th through November 6th. I'm not gonna lie, Scorpio, I feel like a lot of you, this transit for you will be a little bit uncomfortable because Venus is moving through the 12th house, and the 12th house is where planets go to let things go. This isn't to say that you're gonna have a rough time. What I'm trying to say here is that the work that you do in this Venus transit will heavily reflect how good of a Scorpio Venus transit you have. Venus and Scorpio transit. So Venus will move into Scorpio on November 6th, and that transit for you will be a lot too. A lot of planets will be in Scorpio during November. So use this transit as a means to do the reflection necessary so that you have a good November. And I'm not saying that this will be a bad month. I know Scorpio risings are always going through it. So I think that this one is the one where you're receiving some kind of assistance and some kind of help, because Venus is in her home turf. She's in the 12th house and she rules your 7th house. So subconscious behaviors, pay attention to how you interact with people, your relationships, because I feel like they'll be very telling when it comes to your subconscious behaviors that you need to release. So, like, Scorpio, let's be real, like, you can really give yourself up in relationships, or you give yourself, you give too much of yourself away to the people that you love. When you love, it is with all of your heart, it is a force to be reckoned with, So that's why I feel like this Venus and Libra transit is an opportunity for you to find some kind of middle ground, because Libra likes to balance. And Venus being your 7th house ruler, like, how can you accept love and affection from the people that you care about? How can people be there for you? How can people show up in little ways for you to support you, Maybe you're someone who, you have no problem making breakfast in bed for all those that you love and care about, and you're just very uncomfortable with receiving that same affection back. So maybe as a way to relieve it, you allow your friends to make brunch for you or something like that, It's very small and it seems very petty, but it's very big for you, Relationships, emotions start to run deeper and everything seems to be very in your face, especially because at the beginning of this transit on the 13th, Venus will come into a trine with Uranus and Pluto, your 4th house and your 8th house. So a lot of transformative conversations, maybe consultations with therapists, maybe realizing traumas that you've had as a little kid that really impacted the way that you approach your relationships as an adult. And mind you, this is all in air energy. So this is through the use of like self-help. So a lot of you could, like I said, be making consultations with people like a therapist or a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a hypnotherapist, all of that good stuff. But this could also be, like I said, reading self-help books, websites, sources, conversations with people, interactions with strangers, and maybe even finding things from the past that really liberate you and really open up your mind to how you can approach relationships and what they mean to you. Get in tune with your inner child. Saturn's back in your 5th house, so this is a good time to, like Saturn rules your 3rd house, and, Venus just came into an opposition with Saturn before moving into Libra on the 13th. So, like, when you're seeing this, you're already having gone through that aspect. So I feel like this is like, okay, like, how can I express myself? How can I find ways to get my feelings out there, How can I uncover my subconscious so that people can understand me better and unroot things so that way I can teach people how to love me the way that I seem to, like, you're very psychic when you care about people. Like, I don't know how to describe it about Scorpios, but like, there's just something about you where, like, when you love someone, you just automatically know it becomes a sixth sense, So how can you teach those ways to the people that you care about, that way they can show up for you the way that you have shown up for them so that your cup is getting filled? And mind you, a drop from other people's cups into your cup equals like a bucket for them, that you give them, And I know I'm painting you to be complete sap, but I just want to be real with you because I feel like a lot of Scorpio risings have been going through a lot when it comes to the dating scene and how you approach your relationships and how you approach romance. Because even if you actively don't want it and you push it away, it is still something that you're probably curious about or have had some experiences in that is to be unpacked. Venus in the 12th house can also indicate like secret admirers. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you deal with that, where people are kind of like, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? So a lot of you could be dealing with stuff like that. Venus in the on November 1st, around like the 6 days beginning of November, keep an eye out for that because Venus will come into an opposition with Chiron. So if you're looking for a day to be concerned about, it's that day because there could be a lot of stuff going on with like how your mental health and your physical health interacts with each other. Prepare for Saturn to be in Aries next spring, and I feel like this transit for you will be an opportunity for you to be around the right people in order to support a well-being. What I mean by that is like Libra's relationships, 12th house is your subconscious and your repressed feelings, and being around the right people can bring out the wrong feelings. Being around the correct people can, you know, like allow you to feel a lot more supported. So just be around supportive connections and people who want to be there for you as opposed to people who are jealous of you and trying to bring you down. If you know, you know. If you don't, you don't. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Scorpio. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this resonated. I hope you have a good Venus in Libra. Bye. I love you. All right, now we're moving on to Capricorn rising. So hello, Capricorn rising. If you're seeing this, this would be a horoscope for the Venus and Libra transit from October 13th to November 6th. And honestly, Capricorn, this is a really nice transit that you can use because Venus will move through your 10th house, which you as a Capricorn rising are very familiar with. And Venus in the 10th house is a really, really good time to rebrand. I've been noticing a lot of Capricorn risings are wanting to go through something like that, you know, like a rebrand where they're changing up the videos that they make, changing up how they dress up for work. You know, maybe there could be something going on of like, okay, I see two distinct manifestations with this. The first one is that a lot of you could, like I said, be trying to go through a rebrand, posting new content, writing new stuff, putting yourself out there more, especially with like Venusian themes. So like quality, beauty, fun, creativity, you know, what makes you happy, what you like, you know, Venus rules your 5th house. That's very obvious. I think that with Venus ruling your 5th house, a lot of you are trying to put yourself out there more in terms of what you like, what you appreciate. So it's like, if you're really passionate about blankets, you're trying to put that out there more. You'd be like, I really like blankets, you know? I also see this as because the 10th house can be associated with bosses and parents. A lot of you could be going through some kind of good grace with these people in your life, or at least sorting out something and being able to have some time in order to sort out any issues that may be going on with these individuals. I also want to mention that, excuse me, Venus will also come into a trine with Pluto and Uranus right in the beginning. And this is between your 2nd, your 6th, and your 10th house. Definitely a lot of changes when it comes to like a work or a career setting. A lot of you could be working with new groups of people, new foundations, especially if you do work a job or a career where you're having to collaborate with several people. I think that this transit, especially the Mercury-Mars conjunction that will happen on the 20th, and then the new moon in Libra that would happen the day after. So like October 21st and 20th will be a pretty hot spot when it comes to your career and your work, because it kind of seems like a lot of changes are going on there, especially with like systems, work, you know, routines and your schedules and whatnot. A lot of these could be changing up, especially because Venus came into an opposition with Saturn right before she moved into Libra. So this is definitely something about like internet, social media, interacting with people, publishing, you know, your schedules and whatnot. Like I said, maybe even long distance matters. Some of you could be traveling or having to, you know, go through something with school in order to change up something about your career. And it could be related to legal logistics because Libra. But overall, not to say that this kind of just feels like a business, you know. I think that for you, Capricorn, because Venus is moving through the 10th house, this is about moving through business affairs and career affairs with as much grace, diplomacy, and tact as possible. And Venus in Libra is a very impatient sign, but at the same time, diplomacy demands patience. So I kind of feel like a lot of you will be in this phase of like, you're able to wait for the outcome that you are looking for. So this is a really nice transit, and don't be afraid, because I kind of feel like this will be one of those things where it's like when you need to do something, it'll be very obvious when you need to do it. And what I mean by that is because Venus will be squaring your ascendant, so the action that you need to take will be very, very obvious to you. Maybe there at times there will be a little bit of friction. Maybe you feel like bosses or people that you are, above you, or other people that you're working with are being a little bit indecisive, a little bit impatient. You as a Capricorn rising, you're like, I know what I want. Can we just like get on with it? Especially with the oppositions to Neptune in your fourth house and also Chiron later on in November. You're kind of like, man, this is just kind of like striking home for me, like I can't do this, like I just want to move forward. So I think that for some of you, this could feel very personal. Maybe this is something about like your work home life balance, and maybe this is something that you're sorting out. But overall, Capricorn, Venus and Libra in the 10th will be very public for you, and maybe this will be just be an opportunity for you to put yourself out there in a little bit of a different way, in a setting that you are seemingly still adjusting to, because a lot of you have probably had to make changes of like traveling, your living situation, and the people that you are surrounded by. And maybe because some of you are in a new environment or planning to be in a new environment, this is like, you know what? New place, new me, But overall, Capricorn, the best piece of advice that I have for you is do what makes you happy during this time, and be very loud and proud about it. Do not mind what anything people have to say, whether it's good or bad. Do what makes you happy, do what makes you feel good, and the right people will come and find you. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Capricorn. Thank you so much for watching. I hope it resonated. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra. I love you. Bye. All right, now we have Aquarius rising. So hello, Aquarius rising. If you're seeing this, this would be your horoscope for October 13th, November 6th for this Venus and Libra transit. I think you'll like this Venus. So Venus is moving through your 9th house in Libra, which is a really, really fun place for Venus to be, TBH. I told the same thing to Gemini, and I want to say that this is one of those transits where it might feel very hyped up, but when you're going through it, it might feel a little bit anticlimactic. And I say this because Venus, when trines happen, trine is a very harmonious energy, and things sort of happen without you having to do much about it. So, Venus in the 9th, trining your ascendant, random travel plans, opportunities to go abroad, opportunities to educate and be schooled, be with a mentor, be with people who appreciate and love you, love for foreign things, foreign affairs, foreign products, maybe relationships from afar, so like long distance connections, and also good grace of in-laws and extended family. But also property and legal affairs. So if you're going back and forth with like a court or like a higher system like that, this is a really good transit to, sort that out and kind of wait things out, because like Venus is in her home turf, Libra, law, whatnot. I will say Venus will come into a trine of Pluto and Aquarius in your 1st house and Uranus in your 5th. So a lot of you could be changing up how you have fun, and maybe some of you are coming up with new ways to enjoy yourself, and maybe it's based in your beliefs and your faith. You know what? It kind of makes me think of, like, I saw God, and because of that, I stopped drinking alcohol. And it could literally be the case for some of you, but I feel like what I'm trying to say here is a lot of you are seeing things very differently, developing a new perspective in some aspect in your life, and it is manifesting through your habits, how you enjoy yourself, how you have fun, and a lot of you could just be finding new ways to enjoy yourself and do things that are enjoyable. I feel like I just kind of said like the same thing over and over right there. You're just being a lot more creative when it comes to the people that you're around and what you decide to surround yourself with. Anyways, aside from that, I also want to say that this is a really good time to travel and try new things. So there's that. I also want to mention, I kind of feel like a lot of Aquarius risings, Pluto in the 1st house can really silence you, or it can start to make you feel like you're not really able to speak up about what you want to speak up about, whether it be your opinions, whether it be how you feel. And I think that Venus and Libra will really allow you to find a community or people who make you feel seen and want to hear you out. I say this because Venus also rules your 4th house of your home and your family. So it definitely seems like me, maybe like a cousin, especially like a woman, or like an auntie or someone is coming to stay with you, or maybe you're traveling to go see them and stay with them. So I feel like this Venus and Libra transit could just be very literal for Aquarius risings. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Trines can be a little bit, you know, like you don't really do anything and things sort of happen anyways and they happen on their own and you just go with the flow. So if you really want to maximize this transit, it's one of those things where it's worth stepping out and, you know, saying what you feel like saying and talking, having conversations with random people about what you love and what makes you happy, and then finding people who are maybe a little bit out of your league or a little bit out of your immediate circle. And on one hand, maybe this sounds a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit scary, and you don't want to, like, whatnot, you don't want to get alienated or, but also feel like this is a very good time to do stuff like that and experiment, because you may be surprised by who you find yourself around and who you decide to put yourself around. Venus in Libra, again, the ninth house. I always notice Venus in ninth house natal people always find love through foreign lands, or, you know, like, so if you're traveling and you're somewhere and someone is looking at you some sort of way, you're going to regret not going up to them and speaking to them. I'm just going to throw out there, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So take it from me, take it from all the Venus and ninth house people I know. If there's someone traveling to your hometown or someone who you're traveling to, that, just shoot your shot, okay? Just do it. Stop arguing with me, okay? This is a pre-recorded video. We're not doing this, okay? Anyways, so Venus also ruling your fourth house. This could also be stuff revolving around like bringing foreign things into your home. So maybe some of y'all, you know, traveled and you're like bringing like souvenirs and stuff into your house. The fourth house is also about the past. So maybe some of you are having like realizations and revelations based on the past. But that's really all I have to say to you. I feel like what I'm trying to say here, Aquarius, is if you're traveling or if there's people traveling around you, connect with them. Connect with ideas that you are not necessarily familiar with. If there's something different and it's from like somewhere else, just try it, okay? Just do it. That's all I'm gonna say. Also, if you're dealing with like legal matters with like a home and property matter, that stuff will go pretty well as well. The new moon in Libra on the 21st, a lot of you could be signing new things or contracts and whatnot, and it could be related to like signing yourself to a bigger system, you know, like maybe starting to work for a law firm or working for a larger corporation. So something like that could be happening. Okay, that's all. Bye. Love you. I hope you have a good Venus Libra transit. Bye. Love you. Bye. Okay, now moving on to Pisces rising. So hello, Pisces rising. If you're seeing this will be your horoscope from October 13th through November 6th with this Venus Libra transit. Venus for you is moving through your 8th house. Venus likes being in Libra, but she don't like being in the 8th house. So this transit for you might feel like it's very uncomfortable when it comes to your relationships and other people. There's a few distinct manifestations I see with this, but the first thing that really sticks out to me is Pisces. Let's be real, a lot of you have been going back and forth with another person, or you have been having a lot of important revelations and realizations when it comes to your relationships. And, you know, Venus came into an opposition with Saturn right before she moved into Libra. So a lot of you have definitely had some kind of like important conversation or ways of thinking that have changed you. You know, Venus rules your 3rd house. So Venus moving through your 8th house, I also kind of feel like this could be something about like financial matters. But overall, just look out for projection, look out for power struggles, look out for unfairness in your connections. Don't overcompensate, but also don't be, you know, taking advantage of others. I feel like Venus in the 8th house can be a very exploitive energy at times. I also want to say that because Venus rules your 3rd house and is in the 8th house, this is a time where a lot of you could be sorting out something revolving around cars. Venus is we're going to have a new moon in Libra on the 21st. There's like a fly in my room. And on the 21st, a lot of you could be signing new things, especially when it comes to like tax forms and when it comes to insurance affairs. And maybe this could be related to like a job or a car situation. So some of you could be sorting that out, and maybe even for some of you, you are changing financial situations with a relative. Venus ruling the 3rd house, it makes me think of like an aunt or a cousin or somebody, or maybe even a mother, and maybe as you exchange money for, you're changing something about that. So it's like, hey, like I really need to open my bank account, but it only lets me deposit this much. Can I send you the money and you keep it in your account until, you know, and then you can send it back to me, and then blah, blah, blah. So some of you could be setting up a financial situation like that with a relative or even a sibling. But for others of you, I also wanted to mention that Venus will come into a trine with Uranus in Gemini and Pluto in Aquarius between your 12th and your 4th house. So this is a really psychological transit for you, Pisces, for all water risings, to be honest. But for you, I feel like it'll feel definitely a little bit more in your face. So important conversations, important ideas, and unearthing childhood themes when it comes to like your inner child and traumas that you may have dealt with, and maybe even fears, because the 8th house can deal with fears, obsessive tendencies, and traumas and whatnot. And also Libra is with relationships, it's with legal matters, fairness, and boundaries. That's what I think of. And with the trines to Uranus in the 4th house, maybe a lot of you are having some random breakthroughs in this regard. But very chatty transit for you, or there could just be a desire to have deeper conversations. So very psychological transit. Maybe some of you are trying to take a class or something like that in order to learn more. But I do want to mention that this transit for you will probably just feel very like doing the ugly work in your relationships and the people that you're around. That's really the best way to say it. I feel like I'm going to start repeating myself a lot. I do want to let you know that the beginning of November will probably be when you feel this the most, because Venus will oppose Chiron and also square Jupiter, your chart ruler. So the beginning of this Venus transit might feel a little bit unassuming, where nothing is really happening around you. The changes are more so very internal and very emotional. But this could also be that like nothing on your end changes, but things on other people's end changes. And because of that, you're having to sort of compensate them and move around with them when it comes to conversations, transportation, and money. But when Venus squares your chart ruler in the 5th house, this could be something about like reproductive stuff. The 8th house does deal with the reproductive organs, and the square to Jupiter, a lot of you could be trying to have kids, or maybe there's something going on about pregnancy. And this doesn't have to be you. This could be like an aunt, or someone around you that's having a kid, maybe a sister. Maybe there's someone in your neighborhood or something like that, and there's events being hosted, or maybe there's like baby showers that you're having to attend. But for those of you who are wanting to have a kid, this Venus transit is a very good time to, like hit up a gynecologist or something in order to sort something like that out, so that you can put yourself on that path. But I feel like the situation more so revolves around the connections and who you would decide to have a kid with. So I think that this Venus and Libra transit will help you sort out that stuff in order for you to find the person who can help you with that. But overall, Pisces, I think the piece of advice that I really want to send you off into this transit is just give yourself a second. After every interaction, you're probably going to feel a certain way. Doesn't matter who it is. Those emotions are so valuable and so important. Who you tell them to and how you interact with them and how you let them process through your mind will be a process that you want to savor and take your time on. Write things down, like speak into a voice memo or something. Develop an opinion on your feelings before you allow other people to develop a perspective on them. So stay private, and then whenever you feel ready and you have made your mind up on your feelings, that's when it's a good time to speak out on them, because otherwise you might be playing a lot of like cat and mouse games with other people when it comes to trying to get validation for how you feel. Anyways, that's all I have for you, Pisces. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the horoscope resonated. I hope you have a good Venus and Libra.